I, on behalf of Bizemag Media, welcome you to Bizemag Leadership Summit and Awards 2022. The event is to feature addresses by prominent startup founders. These game changers have been bringing about global innovations in technology, finance, social work, and education. And then there are insights to be gained from the sessions featuring notable angel investors. The event would also have a glitzy award ceremony, post which there'd be networking opportunities for all. But to kickstart the proceedings, I'd like to invite Dr. Vanita Agrawal, founder and CEO, Bizemag Media, to deliver the welcome note. Please let's have a huge round of applause for Dr. Agrawal.
Thank you so much for all of you to come here and accept this invite. Our purpose of holding this event is to create an environment for startups and to create a investor and startup meet kind of environment, plus calling veteran leaders from education industry. For example, we have Dr. Ramgopal Rao, who is former director of IIT Delhi. And under IITs, we all know that startups, and they have turned out to be incubators for startups, and they have churned out so many successful startups in India. So I welcome Dr. Ramgopal Rao to please address the audience with his words of wisdom on this all new wave in India of entrepreneurship and having your own ventures. Please welcome, sir.
Thank you, Vanita Agarwalji. Very happy to be here with all of you. So I was the director of IIT Delhi for 6 years. My term ended this February, just about 6 months ago. So I have been now with, I'm continuing with IIT Delhi as a chair professor. So that's my current designation. So when I joined IIT Delhi way back in 2016 as a faculty member, before that I was at IIT Bombay as a faculty member. In fact, I see one of my past students from IIT Bombay here who is a startup founder. So when I moved to IIT Delhi, one of the questions I asked myself is, how do we bring about more deep tech innovation? I think India is doing very well when it comes to the overall unicorns and e-commerce and those sort of things. And even over 100 unicorns we have. I think all of them are in the e-commerce and those sort of IT kind of spaces. So we were looking at how do you really do that deep tech innovation? So how IITs can play a role, and how IIT Delhi can specifically play a role. That was one of the things I thought about, and also, every institution has a character. And I particularly, when I moved to IIT Delhi, one thing that struck me was every third unicorn founder is an IIT Delhi alumnus. Every third founder. Now, 1/3 of all the unicorns have come out of IIT Delhi alone. And so we started to, look at why is it so? What is that we are doing differently from other IITs that, so many unicorns are coming out of IIT Delhi alone. And when you look at the list of all these founders, basically, these are all Mittals, Bansals, Gargs, Agarwals. So that is all what was there to that. I think, so IIT Delhi specifically attracts people from the business communities. So they come to IIT Delhi and then get a degree, and then they go back to business. I think that is how it has been, but then they build different kinds of businesses. And now that network that they have formed at IIT Delhi, while being at IIT Delhi, that also they make use of, in a very significant way, and then, reach that unicorn status and all of that. So, and for these people who come from, these communities, they already have an MBA, that Marwadi Business Association sort of a tag. They already have, everything is all, there in their blood, and you don't really need to do anything with them. So that's how it was. And then one thing we did very effectively was to connect with them. If you remember, at IIT Delhi, we started this endowment fund initiative. And the endowment fund initiative was we set $1 billion endowment we want to raise for IIT. All these people came forward, all these Bansals and Mithals and everyone. And they said we would like to contribute, but in the process, we would also like to get connected with IIT Delhi, with the current students, and see what we can do. And then we launched that endowment fund initiative in the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and we put a condition. We had a kind of a arrangement with the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and we said that anyone who pledges 10 crores for IIT Delhi will get to have chai with President of India along with the spouse. And that night, when we launched it in 2019, we raised that night 265 crores. So that was just one night for having chai with the President of India. And so that's how the journey began. And then they started connecting with the students and faculty. And we started multiple initiatives with their help. And if you look at any educational institute, there are three aspects, right? One is education, of course, imparting knowledge to students. That's one thing that we do very well in the IIT system. The second thing is the research. There is a lot of research that is happening in IITs. In fact, IIT Delhi's rank was about 39 in the world when it comes to research impact. The general tendency is these are all undergraduate institutions. There is nothing much happens in terms of research, but that is no longer true. In fact, IIT Delhi has about 3,500 PhD students on the campus. 60% of our students are postgraduate students and not bachelors. So bachelor students are only 40% of the total student population. And in terms of research, the research impact measured in terms of citations, we are at the 39th position. And that way, even India is doing very well in terms of knowledge generation, which is research. We are ranked third in the world when it comes to knowledge generation, which is research. And but the problem is we provide good quality education. We also do good quality research, but innovation is something which is the third aspect for any academic institute that to a very large extent is missing. Because that innovation is something where you are looking for value for your research. That is basically what innovation is. I would have written so many number of papers, but if I am not able to explain how my research has impacted the people, the society, then there is no innovation. I am a good researcher, but I am not an innovator. I think that's a fundamental difference between research and innovation. So we started to see how do we really bring about innovation on the campus. And to bring about that innovation on the campus, we said, how do we become idea factories? How do we generate new ideas? To generate new ideas, one thing that we need to do is you need to have unlike minds together. So you need to have people who don't think like you, who don't dress like you, who don't behave like you. I think when these people start to interact with each other, that is when you get new ideas. Otherwise, the problem with the IIT system is those students come from all over the country, from different states, but they all go through the same CBSE exams, the same board exams in the country, which normalize whatever diversity they would have had earlier. All of that, because they study the same subjects in the same fashion, in the same kind of schools. I think a lot of normalization happens at the 11th and 12th level, and whatever diversity is remaining, we kill that with the JEE exam. Once they take that JEE exam and prepare for that and all of that, after 3 years of intense preparation, by the time they come to IIT, there is nothing left. They are basically, all think alike, all solve the problem exactly the same way because they all would have gone to the same coaching institutes. And, everything basically, becomes all uniform kind of a thing. And when these people interact with each other on a daily basis, or even on a nightly basis, because most of them are awake during the night time and sleep during the daytimes. So whatever way they interact, but when people who exactly are alike, who think alike, who behave alike, when they interact with each other, nothing much really happens. So one thing we said was, can we now create some kind of situations for them where, can they interact with people who are not like them. So we started to arrange these immersion programs. At IIT Delhi, we launched a program where we provide rural internships to our students. When students want to usually the students go abroad for doing internship, and we said, no, instead of going abroad, can you go to this village and stay with a farmer for a couple of months in the summer? We will provide you stipend, we will take care of all the logistics required in that rural area, but you interact with the farmer and see how farming is done and what are the issues that the farmers face. And similarly, arrange such internships in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the institute which is just next to IIT Delhi. And so we started arranging multiple such internships, and that has been a very successful kind of a thing. We started a program called GRIP, Graduate the Research, what is it called? It's a Grassroots Innovation Program, GRIP. So under that program, we also said, students come from different places all over the country, and can you take up one problem in your local area and use the IIT resources, the mentorship available at IIT and its alumni to solve that problem. So basically, when a child from a small place goes to IIT, you have these billboards everywhere saying that, this person, this student has gone to IIT and all of that, which is a matter of pride for many of these areas. But then, that's where it ends, right? They really come here and go on to do many other things in life. But we said, can we also make our students known in their areas for solving a problem which is specific to that region? So we then started funding students under the Grassroots Innovation Program, where they can take up the problems in their areas and then use the IIT resources, so that the people in that area should be able to say, my son or daughter has not only gone to IIT Delhi, but he or she has also been able to solve this problem. So that was the way we started to design these programs, which I can tell you now there are at least 100 prototypes which have come out of some of these initiatives to the immersion programs. We also started a discover and learn kind of a program. We call it 1, 2, 3, 4 program. What is 1, 2, 3, 4? Basically, in every group, we have one first year student, one second year student, one third year, and one fourth year. They work as a group. And then when the fourth year student graduates, you have a first year student entering. That way these projects became relay projects. Otherwise, everybody forms a group, starts a project, and the project ends at some time, and then they leave away because they all need to find careers. And then the next batch comes, they start all over again, start another project. So many of these projects don't have that continuity. So we started this 1, 2, 3, 4 program where we make them work in teams, and whenever the fourth year student goes, the first year student comes in, and that way these projects now every year we organize exhibitions, and many of them are also becoming startups. So I think these are these unlike minds kind of a concept. The unlike, could also be in terms of cultural diversity. So the cultural diversity is having more international students on the campus. At IIT Delhi, at the BTech level, you can't really get any international student because unless we first export quota to these countries, I don't think any students from these countries can join IIT. I mean, entering IIT has become so difficult now, considering all the difficulty level of these examinations, that expecting international students to crack this exam and enter IIT is almost unthinkable right now. We have been conducting JEE Advanced in 6 or 7 countries for almost like a decade. Hardly anyone has ever been able to get into IIT. And the only student last year, you would have read in Times of India, we had one student from South Korea, a real South Korean student who actually cracked JEE Advanced and entered IIT Delhi as an undergraduate student. And but then, Times of India covered that person on the front page, saying that the first foreign student kind of a thing. But the student actually did 11th and 12th in Hyderabad, went to a coaching institute in India. So that's how it actually works now. So therefore, that internationalization is completely missing on our campuses. And in a good US university, you go even the second-rated, third-rated, you see people from all over the world coming, and that cultural diversity that exists on the campus is what is a good training process for the students there. And that is currently missing in IIT. So we started a program. We said, okay, at the undergraduate level, it's difficult to do that, but why not do that at the master's and PhD level? So we started free fellowship program for the international students at the PhD level. 500 PhD fellowships we announced, and now we have about 150 PhDs now from 25 different countries, and about another 100 students in the master's programs. So that is one thing that we are trying to grow now, and hopefully that will bring in some cultural diversity. And the other kinds of cultural diversity is, in terms of different attitudes. students interacting with industry professionals, because who come with a totally different way of looking at things. So there we strengthened the industry interactions very significantly at IIT Delhi. We had about, we were working with about 75 industries before, or interacting with 75 industries. Now after about 6 years, we have about 350 industries now we have interactions with. I think that has also brought in a lot of different culture and other things. Also with the DRDO, we signed a major agreement. IIT Delhi is that way ahead of any other IIT when it comes to working on strategic areas. Now, in terms of contributing to the nation's defense requirements, IIT Delhi has at least 400 crore today, close to over 300 crore research funding from DRDO alone. There are about 100 faculty, 150 PhD students working on DRDO defined, DRDO funded problems. And that is again because we wanted to bring that kind of a diversity to the campus. The third, unlike mind, is in terms of disciplines. People from different disciplines coming together, working with each other, because problems don't come with a disciplinary tag. Problems are problems. So therefore, to work, to provide solutions to many of these problems, you often require multidisciplinary teams. So we again launched funded programs, and these are all structured funded programs through which faculty can interact with each other. They can receive funding from the institute. So many of these have made a huge difference to the innovation professors of practice. Under the professors of practice, we are now making even the top industry leaders to come and teach IIT students. They don't even need a PhD. Now to be a faculty member at IIT Delhi under the professor of practice scheme, you don't even need a PhD. You need to be just good, by virtue of working in a certain area for a period of time. You need to be good in that area, a recognized leader in that area. That is sufficient for us. And we have 10% of our faculty at IIT Delhi, we have earmarked that for professors of practice. So now we have already started recruiting many of them, and they are also transforming that culture. They are also interacting with the students. These people who have worked in these industries, for tens of years, coming and teaching IIT students, interacting with them, is transforming the culture in many departments now. And so that was one thing which was lacking. About 3 years ago, we enabled that. Now I see that UGC is also doing something similar at the national level. I think these are the ways we need to connect with all of them. In fact, in IIT Delhi, we even can have joint appointments with industry. A faculty member can be half paid by IIT. The other half of salary can come from an industry. That's also one way we are trying to get people back from the other countries to work and serve with us as the faculty. So some of these innovative schemes are also helping us to attract that high quality faculty. So, in fact, I have written articles on that, posted on, social media and everywhere. Institutions are not made by the buildings. When I go to all these colleges, fancy buildings, all Bollywood style campuses, but you go to the faculty, everybody is complaining, right? I think that is not the way to build a great university. Buildings never make a great university. If that is the case, any other country would have had Stanfords and MITs. It's the quality of faculty which decides how good is the institute. And once you get good faculty, of course that will attract good students. They will do great things. So I think the focus on the buildings and infrastructure rather than on the faculty is the biggest undoing of higher education in this country, at least in the private sector. And I think that needs to change. And in fact, I have been wherever I am on their committees and advisory boards, I've been telling them to focus on faculty. Many faculty, are not even getting salaries which were like implemented in the government system like 7 years ago. What government of India implemented in the government system 7 years ago are not even the salaries that they are getting even today. I think with that sort of a dissatisfaction in their minds, you can't expect them to, do great things and all of that. So I think we need to build that faculty cadre in every institute, and so that needs to be focused much more so that you have more good institutions in the country, and so that innovation and all of that will thrive in the future.
So indeed, IIT Delhi has led the way on all fronts. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, Dr. Rao. And now we'd request Dr. Manoj Agrawal, MD, I Acquire, and we have a question here.
We have, that's a good point. So we seek these ideas, and then we have a committee. The committee involves startup founders who have done well, industry professionals, and some faculty who will screen the idea and then admit the startup. So There is, in fact, I was expecting Anil Wali here. Anil Wali is the managing director of FITT, and he now is looking for at least 100 more startups on the campus, through that process. And but that is a process that is involved. And once, fortunately or unfortunately, you can look at it at both the ways. We are looking for companies which have a technology component. So we want more product-oriented kind of startups, and even if it is IT and all of that, at least a blockchain or some AI. So those sort of things are what we are looking at. And if you have any such ideas, I encourage you to. Agree with you.
So if somebody is coming, not developing a technology and using a technology and developing a business sense,
Yeah.
and that's also a great idea.
Agree with you.
So, so normally when we talk to a lot of people and they are more focused on IP and all,
Yeah.
but some of the idea can be that you can use those IP and make a great business
I know that's a good point. Yeah.
and hence that can scale up across the
Yeah. No, IIT has over 1,000 patents. So all granted. You can come and screen through the patents and see which technology might help you to solve what problem. And if you have a faculty member as part of your team, IIT has this program at IIT Delhi. We started a program called FIRE, F-I-R-E. Under that, a faculty member can get 50 lakh rupee grant if the faculty member wants to start a company. So we are now turning our faculty members into entrepreneurs. Because I always believe that the Lakshmi and Saraswati need to come together. There is no reason why people who are educated enough need to remain poor. I think that is no reason. I mean, so the smartness need not only be associated with how fast you can solve an equation and all of that. The smartness can also be how quick can you make money. So I think we are now bringing that thing, that culture very strongly at IIT Delhi. In some departments, every 5th faculty member has a successful startup. That is one thing which has happened in the last 5 years. So all that you need to do is, if you have a problem, right, just look for a faculty member who works in an area where you might be able to find that solution, join hands with that person. You can even then receive that 50 lakh rupee grant from IIT. It's all equity investment. So that is also a possibility at IIT Delhi now.
That was pretty interesting. And now we'd request Mr. Manoj Agrawal, MD, I-Acquire, and Dr. Vanita Agrawal to felicitate Mr. Rao. Thank you, sir. And well then, we shall take a 15 minutes break for lunch, post which we'll be back. We'll be back at 11:15 sharp. Rather, tea, some refreshments to be served now. So 15 minutes break, a tea break, and we'll be back at 11:15.